Can you believe at one point in time this had gym equipment in it? My name is Samantha Cerceo. I am 25 years old. I have been at All-Star for a little over 6 years now, which is crazy. But I was up front for about 2 years now as a greeter, and then before that, I spent a majority of my time in the kennel. I help her with like lab callbacks if we get any blood work or other tests that come in and look good. I just call and let the owners know that everything's fine. Just pay attention to the schedule, kind of look ahead, see what type of appointment, what type of animal it is, whether it's a dog or cat that's coming in. Just kind of briefly look through the history before I go in there, just so I kind of know what to expect almost out of the appointment. And then just kind of ask some questions based on whether it's a sick appointment, whether it's just an annual exam when we're just updating whatever it is that they're coming due for. I loved pets, but I never ever thought about that I would be working at a veterinary clinic, let alone working at one for 6 years. Because I remember in probably even elementary school, I had my absolute favorite animal, along with Caitlin, are dolphins. So that's always been my thing. I wanted to work with dolphins. I would be a dolphin if I could. But so I had watched some documentary as a kid at my grandparents' house about marine biology. So that was in my head all those years. I was gonna be a marine biologist. I already knew what college, and at the age of 8 years old, I was like, I'm gonna go to the University of North Carolina and I'm gonna study marine biology, and I'm gonna be the next Jacques Cousteau, and everybody's gonna know who I am, you know, how you think when you're a kid. And I'm gonna make a lot of money, and I'm gonna do all this stuff. And so from 8 years old to however I was my freshman year of high school, and I took biology, and I was like, don't think this is gonna be for me. After my freshman year, sitting down just to schedule my classes for sophomore year, I was like, this is not for me. I don't wanna do this anymore. And I was it sounds super nerdy, but I was in band in high school. And I enjoyed every aspect of it. So I was like, okay, well, let me look into something music related. And so I had looked into different music programs for audio design and production. So I was accepted into Columbia College Chicago. I did really well in my math and my English classes, but my core classes for my major, I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Everybody was familiar with the software programming that we're supposed to know all this stuff about. And I had a lecture, biggest mistake I've ever made in my entire life. I had a lecture on Monday evenings from 6:30 to 9:20. That was literally the only thing I had going on Mondays. So by 6 o'clock, I'm like, I'm getting kind of tired. Now I gotta go sit through a 3-hour lecture about things that make absolutely no sense to me. So I was kind of like, okay, what do I do? It's December of 2012. I've only been in college for a semester. What do I do? One day, I think it was like mid-February, my aunt, who's good friends with Christy, because my cousin was her oldest son Riley's tutor at school, said, hey, we have a job opening at All-Star. Maybe your sister, meaning my mom, would be interested in at least starting down here, giving her something to come back down here to this area for. My mom's like, well, that's not really my thing, but I can tell Samantha about it. And so I was like, yeah, sure, that'd be fine. So then I was talking to Christy, and she was like, well, when you call the clinic, you need to ask for Richie, because Richie's gonna be the one that you need to talk to. And I was like, okay, I can do that. I remember clear as day, I was in the shower and I missed a phone call from your dad, and I was like, oh no. So I get out of the shower. I was like literally mid-shower, and I called him back and I was like, hey, sorry, I missed your call. And so he wants to set up an interview. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So I was like, yes, I will be there. What time do you need me to be there? So we set up the interview and then I'm like, now what do I do? How do I get there? I'm 3 hours away. How do I get there? Probably the easiest and quickest interview I've ever had. And then it was like it didn't ask me a whole lot of questions, but was like, okay, I'd like to set up an interview with me and Dr. King in like 3 days. So I was like, okay. I don't remember if I drove myself for the second interview or not. So then I was sitting in the old office, which is now the tech office, with both of your parents, and they were just kind of asking me, just talking about the job description being in the kennel and things like that. And so I was more than happy to at least get my foot in the door, at least just in this area, to start doing something. So I spent the majority of the day with Carrie, who's not here anymore, and Kayla Biddles, who was still a practicing RVT at that time. And they were just showing me kind of just the simple process of where everybody goes, like the checklist of things that they do during the day, how to clean a run, when to clean a run. When I got the call, actually I had missed a call from your dad and from Christy a couple days later, and your dad called and left a message and said that they were offering me the job and that he just needed some more like information for me for HR stuff. And then Christy called and was like, I'm so excited, Reggie just told me that, and to give me a call back if you got any questions before you start, but I'm really excited to start working with you. And now here I am. I was never not like nice to people before I started working here, but very much I was, and I'm still kind of that way now, but one of those people that you go to Chick-fil-A and you want more Chick-fil-A sauce. I'd be like, Mom, will you go get me more Chick-fil-A sauce? And she'd be like, well, why can't you do it? I'd be like, I just don't want you. Could you just go get some for me, please? I was one of those kids when I started working here. And once, I can't remember if it was your mom, it was probably your mom and Christy, both said, you have to be uncomfortable in order to learn. It's just a part of life. In order to continue to grow, you're just gonna have to go through the uncomfortable. I've noticed in myself, when I'm hesitant, that's when I start to mess up. So just finding that self-confidence in myself, that to rely on my training, to rely on my knowledge, to rely on the support system that I've built here, has, oh my gosh, if you met me 5 years ago, you would not believe that that was me in comparison to how I am now. I can't even begin to explain how much I've grown and changed as a person from being here. Your mom is the number one person that comes to my mind when I think of if I have a hard day and somebody's giving me a hard time, or I'm upset with so-and-so because they were upset with me for doing something, and I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna leave. I don't wanna do this anymore. Your mom is the first person that comes to my mind, and not wanting to disappoint her and not leaving. Like, your parents have done a lot for me, and the flexibility with going back to school and working here full time while I'm going to school, all of that, just she's always the first person that comes to my mind when thinking about this place, this atmosphere, everything. She's the number one person I do not want to disappoint. I mean, at the end of the day, it has absolutely nothing to do with money, because that's not the goal. That was not your mom's goal when she opened this place, was, oh, I can make all this money at some point in time. That was never her goal. And that's never her goal, and day in and day out. Same thing with your dad. So that's really, I mean, they've truly been, especially your mom and Christy for sure, have been kind of the backbone of me getting out of my scared little kid shell and becoming the person that I am today with all of my things. All right. Good. Thank you.
Really, I can splice a bunch of that together.
That works.
That was all like 50 minutes or so.
That works.
I'll take that.